Hello everyone. I welcome you all to yet another session wherein we would discuss about New Zealand. Through this session, we will cover 5 major aspects of New Zealand, that is physical geography, landforms and aerial features, climate, rivers and waterfalls, and finally we will see some of the major attractions of the country. Let us begin with the physical features of New Zealand. New Zealand is an island country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean comprising 2 main landmasses commonly called the North Island and the South Island, and numerous smaller islands, most notably Stewart Island, Rakiora and the Chatham Islands. The indigenous Maori named New Zealand Aotearoa, commonly translated as the land of the long white cloud. New Zealand is notable for its geographic isolation. It is situated about 2000 km southeast of Australia, across the Tasman Sea, and its closest neighbours to the north are New Caledonia and Fiji. During its long isolation, New Zealand developed a distinctive fauna dominated by birds, a number of which became extinct after the arrival of humans and the mammals they introduced. The population of New Zealand is mostly by European descent. The indigenous Maori are the largest minority. Asians and non-Maori Polynesians are also significant minority groups, especially in urban areas. The most commonly spoken language is English. Comprised of 2 large islands separated by the Cook Strait as well as Stewart Island, hundreds of coastal islands and many regional islands, New Zealand is a country of snow-capped mountains and scenic landscapes north to south. Positioned along the Ring of Fire, the Southern Alps and its many ranges extended through the western portions of South Island. The country's highest point, Mount Cook, is located there, as well as over 350 glaciers and a wide assortment of national parks. Mount Cook rises to a height of 12,316 feet. Throughout the Southern Alps, an additional 19 mountains rise above 10,000 feet. Along the western side of these massive peaks, there is a narrow strip of coastline. Along their eastern flank, the mountains slope into a region of rolling hills and plains drained by glacier-fed rivers. In the far south, within the confines of Fiordland National Park, a jagged coastlines of fjords, inlets and bays front the Tasman Sea. Milford Sound, located within the park, is surrounded by sheer rock faces that rise 3,937 feet or more on either side. It's widely considered New Zealand's top travel destination. The mountains found on North Island are volcanic in nature and many remain quite active. On the island's southwestern corner, Mount Taranaki, which rises to a height of 8,261 feet. Other volcanic peaks of note stretch across a wide central plateau, including Mount Rufu, Mount Naraho and Mount Tongariro. This thermal belt area is replete with boiling mud pools, geysers, hot springs and steam vents. Broad coastal plains ring much of North Island, and along its central western coastline, limestone caves, caverns, and underground rivers are common. Along the northeastern coastline, the Bay of Islands is famous for its 125 scenic islands and secluded coves. With Mount Manguane guarding the entrance and nearly 62 miles of white sand, the Bay of Plenty is New Zealand's premier beach area. Large areas of temperate rainforest are found along the western shore of South Island and across much of New Zealand's North Island. Occupying an extinct volcanic crate, the country's largest lake is Lake Taupo on North Island. The country's longest river, the Waikato, flows north from the Lake Taupo through Hamilton and on into the Tasman Sea. Lake Te Anau is the largest lake on the South Island. The Clutha River is the island's longest river, and like most rivers here, it originates in a Southern Alps glacial lake. The lowest point of New Zealand is the South Pacific Ocean. The landforms in New Zealand include mountains and uplifts, sinking basins and valleys, volcanoes, plains, fjords, caves and plateaus. New Zealand sits on an active plate boundary. The relentless compression of the crust causes different parts of the country to be moved up and down or sideways. This is why a number of landforms exist in the country. Having said about it, we will now see on the continental drift the country had gone through millions of years ago. Continental drift. New Zealand's North Island rests at the Australian continental plate margin, which actively rises as it moves over and subducts the Pacific plate. The islands originated as seafloor sediments offshore of the Gondwana supercontinent 545 to 370 million years ago. Alternate volcanic uplift and seafloor deposits built a New Zealand plate that separated from Gondwana 85 million years ago. On the South Island, the Southern Alps were displaced and uplifted at the Alpine Fault beginning 23 to 10 million years ago. On the North Island, the 8 caldera centers of the topovolcanic zone are 2 million years old, and for the past 340,000 years have made up the most active and productive silicon-rich volcano area on Earth. Moving on to the Central Mountains. Mountains and hills characterize the center of the North and South Islands. On the North Island, high rugged ranges of Jurassic grey rock or dark coast seabed sandstone were uplifted along the Wellington Fault and run northeast to southwest. The hill country of the Hawke's Bay region is east of the mountains, and a large volcanic plateau rests at the west. On the South Island, the mostly grey rock Southern Alps rose along the Alpine Fault, reaching their current height of 9,700 feet only 2 million years ago. Like the European Alps, New Zealand's Alps were glaciated during the Pleistocene's Ice Age and therefore have rugged peaks and U-shaped valleys rounded by ice sheets. Selwyn River and Canterbury Plains. On the South Island, 30-mile wide, 2,883 square mile, Canterbury Plain is an alluvial fan washed from the Southern Alps. Canterbury rivers are fed by the upstream mountain runoff joined by downstream groundwater, and advance in braided channels on coarse gravel beds that rest above the fine alluvial sediments of the plain. At the Selwyn River mouth, along-shore currents carry gravel northeast to form a spit that separates 70 square mile, 7-foot deep brackish lake, Ellesmere Lagoon, from the sea. The sea level was 422 feet lower 1 million years ago, and the coastline was 25 miles farther east when the plains expanded seaward to modern Banks Peninsula, a 12 million year old volcanic island. Fiordlands. Fiordland at the South Island's southwest extreme is a region where plate movements compressed ancient basement rock so that heat and pressure cooked native granites and metamorphosed them to hard and resistant gneiss. The formation dates to the Ordovician period 400 million years ago. The Fiordland region peaks at 8,924 feet Mount Tutoko, but Fiordland was glaciated during the Ice Age when glacial scoring created lowland valleys that now create coastal fjords and inland lakes. New Zealand lies between 37 and 47 degrees south of the Tropic of Capricorn. Both the North and South Islands of New Zealand enjoy moderate maritime climate, weather and temperatures. New Zealand weather and climate is of paramount importance to the people of New Zealand, as many New Zealanders make their living from the land. New Zealand has mild temperatures, moderately high rainfall and many hours of sunshine throughout most of the country. New Zealand's climate is dominated by two main geographical features, that is, the mountains and the sea. Talking about the temperatures, New Zealand has a largely temperate climate, while the far north has subtropical weather during summer, and inland alpine areas of the South Island can be as cold as -10 degrees Celsius in winter. Most of the country lies close to the coast, which means mild temperatures, moderate rainfall and abundant sunshine. Because New Zealand lies in the southern hemisphere, the average temperature decreases as you travel south. The north of New Zealand is subtropical and the south temperate. The warmest months are December, January and February, and the coldest June, July and August. In summer, the average maximum temperature ranges between 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, and in winter it is between 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. Seasons. New Zealand does not have a large temperature range, lacking the extremes found in most continental climates. However, New Zealand weather can change unexpectedly as cold fronts or tropical cyclones quickly blow in. New Zealand's summer months are December to February, bringing high temperatures and sunshine. Days are long and sunny, nights are mild. Summer is an excellent time for walking in the bush and a variety of other outdoor activities. New Zealand's many gorgeous beaches are ideal for swimming, sunbathing, surfing, boating and water sports during summer. March to May are New Zealand's autumn months. While temperatures are a little cooler than summer, the weather can be excellent and it is possible to swim in some places until April. While New Zealand's native flora is evergreen, there are many introduced deciduous trees. Colorful changing leaves make autumn a scenic delight, especially in regions such as Central Otago and Hawke's Bay, which are known for their autumn splendor. New Zealand's winter months of June to August bring colder weather to much of the country and more rain to most areas in the North Island. Mountain ranges in both islands become snow covered, providing beautiful vistas and excellent skiing. While the South Island has cooler winter temperatures, some areas of the island experience little rainfall in winter. So, this is an excellent time to visit glaciers, mountains and other areas of scenic beauty. Spring lasts from September to November, and New Zealand's spring weather can range from cold and frosty to warm and hot. During spring, buds blooms and other new growth bursts forth throughout the country, and newborn lambs frolic in the fields just before dusk. Both Alexandra in Central Otago and Hastings in Hawke's Bay celebrate spring with a blossom festival. And if you are into whitewater rafting, this is the best time when melting spring snow makes river water levels excitingly high. Rainfall. Rainfall is generally plentiful in New Zealand, with most cities receiving between 620 mm and 1317 mm of precipitation annually. Rainfall is normally distributed evenly throughout the year in most parts of the country, especially in the South Island. Northern and eastern parts of the country, including Auckland, Christchurch and Wellington, see a slight winter maximum consistent with a Mediterranean climate throughout. The difference between the wettest and driest months is too small to justify the designation. Summer and autumn maxima can be found in places closer to the southwest, such as Invercargill and Milford Sound. How much rain a place receives is highly dependent on topography. The Southern Alps, the North Island volcanic plateau and surrounding ranges can produce large variation in rainfalls in places barely tens of kilometers apart. Milford Sound receives over 6,700 mm of rainfall a year on average, while barely 100 km away Alexandra in Central Otago receives only slightly greater than 300 mm annually, giving it a borderline oceanic semi-arid climate. Snowfall. Snowfalls in New Zealand's South Island and at higher altitudes in the North Island. It is extremely rare at sea level in the North Island, with one snowfall in both Auckland and Wellington in 2011 after a period of 80 years where none occurred. Snow is more common inland in both mainlands, though snow to sea level does occur on average once or twice per year in the central and southern South Island. Rivers in New Zealand are used for a number of purposes. In the early Maori and the European history of New Zealand, the navigable rivers were used for transportation. There are 1,609 kilometers of navigable inland waterways. However, these are not longer significant transport routes. Rivers are used for commercial tourism and recreation activities such as rafting, canoeing, kayaking and jet boating. The longest river in New Zealand is the Waikato River with a length of 425 kilometers. The longest river by volume is the Clutha River with a mean discharge of 613 cubic meters per second. Some of the rivers, especially those with wide flooded plains and stop banks, have long road bridges spanning them. The Rakia River is crossed by the longest bridge in New Zealand at 1,757 meters. The third longest bridge is the Virokino-Trestle Bridge on State Highway 1 crossing the Manawatu River. Over 1,80,000 kilometers of rivers have been mapped in New Zealand. New Zealand is a place where traditional Maori culture mixes with modernity in cosmopolitan cities, charming villages and vast expanses of untouched wilderness. Pristine and heavenly, the island nation has something to offer to everyone. Let's go through some of the attractions of the country. We will start with Auckland. Besides beautiful and the biggest city of New Zealand, Auckland also has lots of things to do, such as nice restaurants, shops and plenty of tours, both in the radical as well as in the contemplative arena. Auckland is very multicultural, tranquil and easy in terms of location. Bay of Plenty, not very far from Auckland, uniting many small towns as well as medium-sized ones such as Taronga and Mount Managui. The whole area is beautiful with some of the best beaches in New Zealand and also lots of farms, especially kiwi fruit. Spend one day visiting the live White Island volcano in the town of Wakatani is considered a must. Rotorua. The city of Rotorua is great for those who want to have a close contact with the Maori culture as well as the fantastic thermal areas of New Zealand. The lake right in front of the city is very peaceful and beautiful, and the city offers an enormous number of activities and tours for all kinds of tourists. It is only about 2 hours from Auckland, but more than one day there is recommended due to too many fantastic things to see and do. Coromandel Peninsula. This northeastern peninsula is famous for its white and golden sand beaches that frame magnificent coastal scenery, forest perfect for days of exploration and other natural wonders. Start your visit in Thames, a small but picturesque city with a rich history of gold mining. One should not miss a stop at Hot Water Beach, where visitors can dig their own hot pool from the springs under the sands. Sky Tower. It is an observation and telecommunications tower located in New Zealand's largest city. At a height of 328 meters, it is the tallest freestanding structure in the southern hemisphere, and the Sky Tower has become an iconic structure in Auckland's skyline. The tower offers views of up to 80 km away and fine dining in the orbit revolving restaurant. Kiokori. This small coastal town on the South Island is a heaven for seafood lovers. One can spot fur seals, dolphins, sperm whales and albatrosses off the shore. Land lovers can take a wilderness walk through the untamed and dramatic Kaikoura forest. So let's conclude by saying New Zealand is a land of magnificent and unordinary beauty. New Zealand is an island country, but the sizes of the islands are not large, so it is quite easy and pleasant to travel around regardless of what means of transport one use. A car, a bus or even a bicycle. In addition, New Zealand is sometimes called the Green Island because its population has high environmental awareness and its low population density gives the country a large amount of pristine wilderness and a high level of biodiversity.